I'm back. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna keep practicing. Let's get a quote. So last year I was supposed to write an essay in my English class and I didn't do that well. I got a C on it, but that was my original grade. I rewrote the essay and then wrote an entirely new essay after that to improve. And that bonus essay and my rewriting of that essay got my grade up, because getting that C was not a failure in and of itself. It was an opportunity to grow, and I took it. And that brings us to today's quote. Every strike brings me closer to the new home run, the next home run, from Babe Ruth. And to me, this means that though we often pathologize failure as something that should only ever be avoided, failure can serve as an opportunity and a moment to reflect, and not something that we need to get mad at ourselves or take too much time crashing out over. And my evidence for this interpretation is the film Inside Out, Susan B. Anthony, and I forgot it. I had it. The film Wicked. That was it. Now, to begin, we have Inside Out. Inside Out follows Riley as she moves from Minnesota all the way to California and San Francisco. And this move is something that Riley does not originally like, and her tempestuous mind is very adamant that this move is a bad idea. And she goes to California and she books a bus ride all the way back home to Minnesota, just because she really wants to be back home in Minnesota. And this is because she has pathologized this move as something that is not good, a failure that she cannot overcome except for going back to Minnesota. But eventually Riley realizes that it's okay to be sad about this move, but it's also okay to move on. It's okay to accept a new life in California. It's okay to make friends. It's okay to keep playing hockey in California. And she realizes that, and she becomes happier. She matures and develops through her move. And that really shows us that even though the move was hard for her, it was a strike that she could have crashed out over. It was something she could have quit. She chose to keep going. And in the end, that brought her closer to her next home run. Moving forward, we also have Susan B. Anthony. Now, Susan B. Anthony was a suffragette who famously voted illegally in an election. And women in the United States did not get the right to vote for a very long time after Susan B. Anthony's act of voting illegally. But that vote that Susan B. Anthony cast still served a very important role in that fight for suffrage, and it brought that cause so much closer to fruition. And we cannot pathologize the lack of immediate success from that as a failure, because it's really not. Susan B. Anthony was an aspirational figure that we cannot ignore as important to history. Moving forward, we also have the film Wicked. Now here, Wicked focuses on Elphaba, who is the Wicked Witch of the West, and it follows her from Shiz University to becoming what Oz would call wicked. But I want to focus on Glinda, who is Elphaba's best friend in the movie and also exists in The Wizard of Oz as Glinda, the Good Witch of the North. Now, Glinda originally sides with the Wizard of Oz, and you could paint this as a failure because it is a mistake, it is unjust, it is not a good decision for Glinda. But occupying this position allows Glinda eventually to choose the truth and to choose liberation for the animals of Oz. It allows Glinda the position of power that she needs to bring an equal Oz for everyone. And that really shows that even though we make mistakes, that gray cloud has a silver lining. And sometimes gray clouds aren't even bad, because gray clouds have rain that feeds flowers. And Glinda's choice to side with the Wizard of Oz was a mistake, but it was something that was pivotal in bringing a better Oz in the end. And that really shows that that strike against Glinda isn't something we can hold against her, because it ended up being important in the end. And now, to recapitulate and conclude, we should review our quote: "Every strike brings me closer to the next home run," from Babe Ruth. And that shows that we really can't pathologize failure as something that we need to only overcome, but something that provides us an opportunity to reflect and to pause and to realize that maybe that was important. Maybe it was something that we actually needed. Maybe it was something that provided an opportunity for growth, as we saw in Riley, or maybe it was something that would be important later, as in Susan B. Anthony and Glinda. And whether you get a bad grade on an essay or need to write a bonus essay and rewrite your original essay to improve, or whether you just need to try again and get back at it, I encourage you to not only think of failure as something that you need to overcome, but failure as an opportunity in itself. Thank you. So that went over the time limit for an impromptu speech, but only really because I had to pause for 40 really seconds. I haven't counted it because I forgot my third point. And that is why I like to use an index card. I've been doing these without an index card. I do have an index card here, but it just has the quote on it. I'm not sure if in an actual tournament I want to just like really trust myself to remember everything, or if I want to like outline on an index card. We'll figure out when we get there. Doodles.